They say that a society grows great when old men plant trees in whose shade they know they shall never sit. They also say that the Kings lose week 2 of the draft league when the Kyurems draft Quaxwells with which to kill my 6 funny little guys. When it was drafted, I celebrated Quaxwell. I wished him a 1,000-year dynasty, but I did not realize that the growth of that formerly terra grass tree would fashion the handle of the axe that threw shade upon my legacy. So, Chef is world renowned for his beautiful cooks, with strange ones. Whirlpool Snorlax comes to mind as a parfait de something French that sounds a little smart and tasty. But looking at his Season 2 team, the Kansas City Kyurems, there are some monsters in here. Melmetal off the bat, that double iron bash is hitting in ways that did not make me happy in the prep phase, and I really wanted to make sure that I wasn't getting double iron bashed into hell. Mega Aerodactyl's 150 speed tier with 135 attack and tough claws is just nuts. Victini's getting V-Create, Blue Flare, and Fusion Flare, among whatever the hell else it gets, with a pretty solid offensive typing and that 100 across the board base stat, which you can do a lot with. It's hard to predict what he's doing. Thunderous Therian hits an all-important 101 base stat speed tier, which can get past a little bit this and that. It edges out quite a few things. A lot of other things on this team are sitting at base 100. This Torterra, I believe, is not a Terra Captain. I forget if it's Terra banned or not, but even without that, one shell smash and this thing can ruin your whole career. That 56 speed will turn into something horrifying, and then those offenses, don't want that happening. You gotta keep that in mind. Miss Magus, you've got Fluttermane Light. It can do a lot. It can set up stuff in your face and memento you. It can Terra Fairy here, so really the Fluttermane Light. Something you shouldn't be writing off. Galarian Zapdos, Prime Scarfer in my book. Solid ability in Defiant, making it a great webs counter, despite the fact that it's flying type. Don't look too deep into that. Milk Tank, which surprisingly fast, surprisingly not as bulky as you'd think. You'd imagine this thing pushing like 125 on the HP, but nah. 105 defense, not crazy on the attacking front, but that makes it even scarier because what the hell is it even doing here? I do not know. Gastrodon sitting there, not looking the craziest into my team that has no water types. That Storm Drain ain't looking quite as valuable into the old Kings, but still a good tank nonetheless. Skuntank, Terra, Dark, Flying, and Ice. I believe the Ice might have changed since this battle, but that should be what it was at the time. A solid guy, he gets coverage. All I really know it's doing is Flamethrower. Outside of that, who knows what the hell this thing does. Poison and Dark are great typing. You see it in Alolan Muck to great use with some bulk. Quaxwell, the demon himself, sporting Terra Water, Fire, and Dragon, though that Terra Fire was grass at the time of our match. I'm not going to lie. My team, it wasn't prepped enough for Quaxwell, and I paid the piper on that one. And finally, Okidogi, the icon of our league. You can see it in the top right of the little frame I've made here. Solid physical bulk. I forget if this guy gets Trailblaze. Hold on. Let's take a peek. I don't know what's getting anything on the speed end for... Holy shit. No Trailblaze. I don't know if it's getting any like speed up, so it's a little on the slow side at a solid 80, but still nonetheless a goat. They got that guard dog to make it immune to intimidate. Also gives it actually a +1 attack, which is kind of nice. Can't go wrong with the Dogi. You gotta love him. He's an icon. Okie dokie. Jumping on into what the Kings built for this week. I think, in all honesty, this team was too tunnel visioned on Mega Aerodactyl. Now, it's a scary little creature. It could do a lot of horrible things with Rock and Ground hitting quite a few of my mons, and then having flying and dual wing beat boosted by tough claws to really damage my 3 or 4 grass types. But I think I tunnel visioned in on this Mega a little bit too much, and it might have ended up hurting me overall. And you can see that with Raging Bolt here. We've got this plus special attack, max invested Thunderclap, which will one-shot it, especially after rocks. That thing is mega dead, especially it's not holding whatever the electric berry is. The Draco Meteor is on there to hopefully just nuke something dead. And Thunderwave could hit some nice speed control. It's a little risky bringing this, knowing that you do have the Tornus Therian with is it Volt Absorb or Lightning Rod, one of the electric eating abilities in the back. That thing could come out and kind of hard wall it outside of that Draco Meteor. And if it's got like an AV, no clue what the calcs are, but it's a risky bring, especially knowing that Torterra, Melmetal, Aerodactyl, and Gastrodon are all going to be running some ground typing moves to hit it. No massive fairy threat on the enemy team, which is nice, but still a strange choice to bring. But we'll see if it pays off. Coming up next, Torkoal is here because he's the Sun on the Sun team. That Photosynthesis coming out of Raging Bolt will feel really nice if we get that scenario. Same with Leavanny's Chlorophyll. It's got the same issue as Raging Bolt, where there's a lot of ground types kind of aiming their sights at this Mon. The Rocks and Wisps on there are the main thing. That explosion sitting in the back looking to catch something out. But honestly, I think it would have been a more fun set if I put speed investment to make sure I outsped the Melmetal and hit that Will-O-Wisp. It could have saved me like half damage on an Earthquake, which could have been really nice, but oh well. Maybe we get the Will-O-Wisp off, maybe we don't. You'll have to see. Next up, Lovebug the Leavanny. Ripping the Focus Sash, as you kind of do, which does not at all answer the Mega Aerodactyl's dual wing beat. If this thing is out in the sun, it's gone. But we're ripping the Grass Whistle, Terra Blast, Rock, Triple Axle, and Low Kick pack. Maximum speed with a Lonely Nature, giving you plus attack minus... No. What is Lonely Nature? God. It's in a plus attack nature. Anywho, the idea is to build some momentum by getting the by getting the Grass Whistle off and then breaking on in to some of those attacks. Low Kick to hopefully sleep and then chip down Melmetal as good you can. Triple Axle will cover that Mega Aerodactyl very well. And then Terra Blast will kill Victini after rocks with Thundurus as well, as long as they're not repping the heavy duty boots. Your standard Chlorophyll sweeper, it's looking to outspeed the whole game and turn it down while the sun beats down. Mega Absol, looking back at this, I don't know exactly what I was thinking. I'm sure that the calcs were looking good to me if I hit that Swords Dance. The problem with Mega Absol, as always, is making sure that you actually hit the Swords Dance. But close combat, Stone Edge, and Sucker Punch can make some good work out of the team. If you're hitting that 160 base attack with the Swords Dance up, 115 speed. This is running Adamant, so it's outspeeding base 100s by 1 point, but it's getting ripped into by Thundurus Therian. It's got potential. It's sitting there as a threat and sweeper. If you got your slow mons out and Mega Absol in, it could be the game there. You're also worried about that big knockoff that it's not actually running here. Terrifying Stakataka with max HP, max special defense. It was honestly worried about the Thundurus running a flying type move, and also Victini, but I think if Victini presses a psychic type move into here, you probably just gotta say your prayers and attend the funeral of Stakataka. But regardless, the Trick Room will deal with all speed control as far as Stakataka alone will be concerned. I think Torkoal might be the second in this matchup, the second slowest, that is. Stealth Rocks are nice. I've got 2 sources because I really wanted them up for a couple of key calcs that have been lost to time, eroded like sand. But Body Press and Stone Edge will deal with Aerodactyl, Metal, Victini, and Thundurus. Again, kind of not covering those other mons on the back. But It's here. It's ripping the leftovers. And it's my designated Terrahawk for the most part. Ooh, a little bit of water. Keep yourself hydrated. Finally, we got Jaundice Dog 2, the Lucario. The second coming, some people have been calling him. And he's running a Scarf Final Gambit Max HP set with the Timid Nature. The speed, I forget entirely what it is crept to. Assumably something with a +1. But the 240 HP EVs on it will deal a perfect 100% to Victini with no bulk investment, so that base 100 HP. And it will also knock out anybody, depending on their health investment, outside of Melmetal and the two gassy guys, of course, those being Gas Troodon and Gas the Skunk Man, the Skun Tank. Outside of that, Steel Beam is just going to do a big chunk. It's funny. You gotta love the funny factor. Focus Blast can do a nice bit into Melmetal, if not KOing a pretty measly special defense stat on that. And Dark Pulse is Dark Pulse. A fast Dark Pulse has that flinch chance. It'll cover Victini for you. And that's the set. Running Hard Sun with 2 boosters. Another Physical Sweeper. Stack Attack as a Trick Room Setter. And that Scarf Final Gambit tech to try to get rid of a cheeky little threat. So, with that all out of the way, let's get into the replay. So, getting into the face-off. We've got no Mega Aerodactyl on the roster, and this was making me feel horrible. I was ready for that. I brought Raging Bolt specifically to have that endgame insurance with the Thunderclap. And you know what? All that worry just for it to not actually come. Which makes a lot of sense. Why would you ever bring Mega Aerodactyl into Raging Bolt? But I'm the fool here, so. Outside of that, Melmetal is showing up. Hopefully Torkoal can deal with that, though I don't believe Torkoal is really dealing a big fire-type blow to it. We've got Gastrodon, who is not necessarily accounted for enough. We've got no grass coverage out of like an Ogerpon or Leavanny here, so that's tough. Definitely can deal with Galarian Zapdos between Raging Bolt and a number of rock-type attacks. Quaxwell, well, nobody's hitting Quaxwell outside of Raging Bolt here. Victini, is that Quaxwell or Quaxley? It's Quaxwell. I always forget those two mixed up. Sakataka is a little worried about there being both ground types here. Same with Lucario. And Lucario's looking pretty happy because he can, he can either Focus Blast, Melmetal, or Suicide into Victini, which is kind of his job. So, let's kick it off. Busting it open. We've got Quaxwell, the Nutcracker, coming in to Love Bug the Leavanny. And we've got a natural Leavanny outspeed. I forget why I led Leavanny in particular. I don't believe we're running Sticky Web this week, but we can check that. Nope. Anywho, we see the first move come out. Terra Dragon out of Quaxwell, and we hit the Grass Whistle out of Leavanny, which is really awesome. This is about as good as you could have gone. The worst case scenario was that Quaxwell hit a attack and Leavanny missed. And then you've got the scenario where you've got no Sash and you down a turn. You have that next chance. I don't think Quaxwell's probably killing out of here. Remember that this isn't Terra Fire yet. If this was Terra Fire, then we'd be pissing my pants and I probably would have swapped. But Quaxwell's asleep. The beast sleeps. He's saying that. And moving onwards, we take the Triple Axle, which even with it being teared into super effectively, it lives with some space, gets that second turn of Sleep Down, and now we see the double swap into Torkoal getting that Heat Rock Sunny Day up, and Melmetal. So now this isn't necessarily a bad position here. Torkoal really wants this Will-O-Wisp on the Melmetal. It could also set rocks here, which could be very nice. Essentially, Melmetal's just unhappy to see Torkoal. Even if it's packing Earthquake, it's probably not going to Oko. And it's got that big special hit to come in. Or if it takes a Willow, this poor Melmetal is kind of sitting like a duck. We get the swap into the Will-O-Wisp. Not ideal, especially you hate to see it hit. If it had missed, I wouldn't have felt as bad, but we hit that Will-O-Wisp into somebody who doesn't care. And it's not the best thing. We stay in with Torkoal and get hit with the Scorching Sands, which is really tough, but we do get those rocks out. Ultimately, not a big fan of this trade. I was not expecting to get hit with a ground type attack here. I was also really not hoping for special Victini. I was hoping for it to be running like whichever of the fusion bolt, fusion flare moves are the physical ones. I was really hoping for like a physical V-Create set. But no such luck. And this next turn, we swap out into Leavanny, taking the blue flare, which, hold on, is blue flare. I think blue flare is a special. So this is a mixed Victini. We hang on with the Focus Sash, which is nice. And then we proceed to Terra Rock in an attempt to get the KO. And this calcs out as being it's inconclusive on whether this is a low roll with bulk or just a normal roll with no bulk. So it doesn't really give me any information. I believe it could be either, which is tough. It's a little less information. And it not getting the kill, if this had been pre-rocks, or if the Victini had come in on rocks with no boots, it could have been a kill. But no such luck. We just come a little short. And, of course, Leavanny's not rocking the biggest attack stat of all time. We get Psychic. That 1% goes down. And we see the Lucario come out. Now, we've got the Scarf Dark Pulse. We know that this Victini's not Scarf, so we're outspeeding it no matter what. And as long as they don't swap, this is a pretty guaranteed kill. Worst case scenario is probably Gyaptos coming in and just not caring about the hit that much and proceeding to either be Scarfed and outspeed with like a Brave Bird or more likely close combat for that super effective damage. In fact, my entire team would be really upset with that scenario. The only real answer I'd have here with a chip down Torkoal is Raging Bolt coming in, and that's not what we're looking for. Even with the Thunderclap, I'm not sure if that's a KO or not. But we see the moves come out. The Dark Pulse comes, and it does confirm that kill. And we get Melmetal coming in on the back of this. 6% off the rocks, not a big day. Obviously Scarf because we're outrunning that Victini. And I proceed to hit the Dark Pulse and take an Earthquake. Now, this Earthquake I was pretty sure was going to come in. I was kind of hoping it didn't have it at this point, but I shouldn't have been so naive. This is horrible. The final Gambit is pretty much useless, which is kind of the big idea, and its best target here is gone. I mean, it could well be used against maybe the Gyaptos or Torterra in the future, or if the Gastrodon proves to wall too good, it could be good insurance, but we don't have that option because we're doing 5% of our health with Final Gambit now. This was not the move. I think, honestly, looking at how the board stands, Mega Absol isn't really hitting much for super effective damage. It's hitting Gyaptos with Stone Edge, and that's it. And I already have Stone Edge on Stakataka, which means that our Mega Absol just really isn't going to be that important here. It's not something that I need to kick around. And I think the play here should have been to swap Absol and see what happens. But I go for another Dark Pulse and essentially sack Lucario. I guess I wanted to also cycle the Sun, which is why I didn't want to bring in Torkoal as a sack, even though he's running low HP. Here we have Torkoal coming in to do exactly that. The immediate switch out, and we get a Will-O-Wisp, which fails because it's asleep. And here we make a tragic play. The Nutcracker wakes up, outspeeds, and puts up Rain Dance. Now this is really tough because the Lava Plume comes out, no burn, and half power, meaning it survives pretty handily. If we'd gotten that sleep, I think that might have been a KO. It would have been a KO with burn, but no such luck. So the bird, no longer a sitting duck, no longer a sleeping duck. This guy is awake. The water is up. It's at 5%, and it's mad. It did not want to take that nap. Its siesta has ruined it. It's got the post-nap grogginess, and it's mad because of it. We're going to feel the burn of the bird, folks. The burn of the water bird. We take out S2Wk2 and absolutely chunked by liquidation here. We are running max special defense and attack, if I'm not mistaken on this. I very well could be. I've got a very goldfishy memory. But this liquidation is doing far more than I would have expected off of a a base 85 attack liquidation. It is in the rain, so you get that boost. But goddamn, super effective, does do the trick. One of the nice things about water not being resisted by steel offensively, but it's a really tough position because S2Wk2 is very unhappy. Nobody else really wants to swap in here because Torkoal, I think, is still at threat even if the sun comes out. Absol is just going to get mega chunked by it, maybe even die off the bat. And honestly, Raging Bolt hasn't been out here. We're still at full health. Honestly, probably the move there. The Terrorblast Dragon could come out crazy style. But here, you see, we've also got no Terra Fighting to expend because Leovani Terra Rock. We get the liquidation. I don't know why I sack attack into the S2Wk2. Kind of a foolish decision here. I think there were better options. But S2Wk2 is no longer here. It could have gotten the body press on the Melmetal if Trick Room came up somehow. But honestly, looking at the quad weaknesses, stab out a Torterra and Gyaptos, that's pretty unlikely. Does it mean that I should have sacked it? Maybe not, but that's what happened. So you know what? The cards were dealt, and my castle starts to fall. My literal S2Wk2 castle. Torkoal comes out for the sun to come back up, and we swap here. Now, terrible news here, folks. We honestly could have probably gone for the eruption, or the lava plume. We would have known it would have done around 5% in retrospect. I'm not going to run the calc for you because, god damn it, I'm lazy. But Quaxwell the goat, hanging on at 5% for like its 5th turn, hits the Rain Dance and takes the momentum out of that sun, turning its power down. We get Mega Absol taking the Swords Dance instead of the kill, which is a little foolish because that liquidation absolutely deletes me here. We could have just turned the Quaxwell off, the Aqua Jet, if it even gets it, probably wouldn't have killed, but it's a really tough sight. This is the beginning of Mega Absol's lackluster career, let's put it that way. A lot of problems probably could have been helped by just taking the Sucker Punch or the Stone Edge or other attacking move that I forget off the top of my head, but we're at a free Swords Dance, rain boosted Quaxwell, and here we see the Draco Meteor come out instead of the Thunderclap, which is unbelievable. I guess we were expecting a swap and hoping to nuke something down. Maybe take a solid chunk out of that old bird Melmetal. But it doesn't happen. And now we've got the Forest Giant, the old Torterra, the Gen 4 legend, and he's here to sit down with that ground typing and close out the game. Torkoal comes out, get rid of the rain for, I guess, photosynthesis. The Shell Smash comes out. Torkoal is looking absolutely horrible here. This EQ, there's nothing that can be done. You can try to get the Willow, but it's not going to happen. Poor Telephone gets hung up. You can hear the dial tone, folks. It's coming. Raging Bolt doesn't have an answer with that immunity to the Thunderclap. Even with that photosynthesis special attack, you're not living that. And that's the game over. And you know what? I doubted Quaxwell, and I paid the price. I didn't account for the bird in the bush, and it jumped out and it scared me. And you know what? Just as Owen says here, the mandate of heaven, the 1,000-year reign, it was spaked into existence during the draft, and I should have listened to my own words. Those 1,000-year eggs cracked, and you know what? The smell was nasty for me. It was a rude awakening, like a smelling salt out of that nasty brown egg. But that's the beauty of draft. You see a Quaxwell putting in major work, and you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm proud to have lost to a Quaxwell of all things. If you'd seen Mega Aerodactyl come in here and 6-0'd me, I would have been a little upset, but God, it's a beautiful thing to see a not fully evolved Quaxwell of all things. A Pokemon whose name you might even mix up with its pre-Evo. And shit, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Beautiful match out of Chef. You gotta love it. And we'll be back with week 3 coming up soon. Thank you all very much. Bye-bye.